Hi there. Today we're talking about belief and how atheists have destroyed atheism and resurrected religion. Now, some of you may notice that religion is back on the rise in 2025. There's prayer apps, sales of Bibles, the Christian Bible are on the rise, so on and so forth. Now, that's a lot of that to some degree is just social media and technology providing new ways for religion, and religions plural, to contact their faithful or interested parties. But the reality is there is discussion of crisis in meaning, so on and so forth, that is leading people to pick up the Bible again. Whether they'll all start going to church on Sunday or at other times, who knows? But certainly we are seeing a bit of a resurrection of religion, and to some degree, not just the crisis of meaning, but to some degree, atheism is on the ropes, even to the point of being defeated. And it's worthwhile having a chat about that because, it seems like common sense, right? Atheism, it's like, this concept that some entity called God created the universe. It sounds ludicrous. And I think it was Yuri Gagarin who said that when he got up into space, he didn't see an old man sitting on a throne, as a reference to God. So you would think that atheism has a head start in terms of common sense and convincing people. It certainly doesn't look that way based on the numbers. Atheism has never been able to get a majority belief of people. I don't think it can for a variety of reasons. But the main one that I'm interested in today, right now, is the fact that they seem to be struggling with several specific arguments. And for ease, let's just stick to Christianity and the Bible. One argument that has come up about the Bible, and Richard Dawkins has made this, is that he in particular sees no truth value in the Bible. Now that's fine, and Richard Dawkins is an honest man. He is an avowed atheist. That's who he is, and he's telling the truth when he says that. I believe he sees no truth value in the Bible. He said that to Jordan Peterson last year. But the reality is that we know for a fact that some of the biblical figures are real. Larry Schiffman, who I've heard talk, has proven about 50 figures, people in the Bible existed. And also, we as historians use the Bible as a reference book. It's not 100% accurate, obviously, but we use it as a guide. And more recently, this millennia, the 21st century, we found out that Sodom and Gomorrah does exist, and in the region where it was predicted to exist in the Bible. And a number of other people as well, Jonah and Nineveh and so on and so forth. All of that is actually real. So, I'm afraid to say on the argument that there's no truth value in the Bible, that's just not correct. It's a fair opinion. You can hold it if you want, but it's not actually true. And being in the mining industry, we use ancient texts all the time and historical texts to direct us, right, in what we do. And it's got nothing to do with religion or belief or science or anything else. It's to do with truth. We know that there's truth there, and when we're looking for gold and copper, we're not going to say, oh, well, don't want to offend this person or that person. It's either true or it's not. And there is truth in the Bible. There is truth in ancient texts. I think we mentioned in other podcasts how the gold mentioned in Beowulf, the Anglo-Saxon saga, is now believed to have been found in the Staffordshire Hoard. So please, if you're one of these people who thinks there's no truth value in the Bible, that's a subjective opinion that you hold. But please understand there's plenty of people who, in the cold light of day, like myself, use ancient texts and the Bible just to inform ourselves about reality because it's true. We can show that it's true, and it's particularly useful in mining. So that doesn't hold water, right? That doesn't hold water. There is truth value in the Bible. That's simply a fact. It's not capable of real dispute. Okay, it's not capable. It can easily be shown that there's truth value in it. So you'd have to argue, you'd have to change the meaning of the words truth value to something else to try and keep that opinion in place. But certainly from a business point of view, looking for mines, gold and copper, ancient text, Bible, all that stuff, there's enough truth value in them. All right, so there's one argument. But even if you're an atheist and you say there is no God, there is no divine entity, and therefore, taking the Bible again, you say, well, therefore, it's clearly written by humans, right? Through human inspiration. Well, the issue that you've got there is if you say that, and plenty of atheists would say that, in fact, I don't think there's any atheists who wouldn't say that because they don't believe in a God or a divine entity, so they believe that it was written by someone, a human. But if you say that, then you immediately encourage the Jordan Petersons of the world, who will jump up and say, oh, well, I'm a psychologist, so it was a human who wrote this. Was it? And you, of course, as an atheist, have to say, yes, 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 it was a human with no divine inspiration, because that doesn't exist. Well, as soon as you say that, psychologists can say, well, I can put my psychological view on this because it was written by humans and I'm a human psychologist. And you end up going down the rabbit hole of archetypes. Is the story real or not? If there wasn't a person called Cain Smith or Abel Smith, then it's an amalgam of stories that actually mean something. Right? It actually has a deeper meaning. Jordan Peterson would claim it's hyperreal, and you're stuck with that. And then you're stuck with another problem in that if natural selection is real and evolution allows us to adapt to our benefit, well, then why haven't we adapted away from religion? Right? And it's very possible that natural selection has selected religion to survive in the genetic book of the dead, to sort of refer back to Richard Dawkins again in his most recent book. So there's a real problem with atheism because being an atheist, you can't admit the presence of God or the divine by definition. But then as soon as you say that it's humans who wrote this, then immediately you engage the psychologists like Jordan Peterson who say, all right, well, let me go to work with my human psychology then, because it was humans that wrote this Bible. And then you run into archetypes and why we haven't evolved past religion. So you get stuck on the scientific basis. And then you may end up in the whole situation of having to say, well, on the balance of probabilities, it's more likely than not that there is a God and a divine presence because, if Christians believe in the virgin birth or the immaculate conception, right? Which is one thing that people like to sort of point at in religion, in the Christian religion. Well, as soon as you sort of call that into question, which is fair enough, the virgin birth, well, the Christian will simply point back with a science finger and say, well, what about the virgin birth of the universe? So, if you're an atheist, you may want to think out your approach to arguments, or not argue at all, and just be comfortable in your own skin that you don't believe, right? And you don't really need to care about anyone else's opinions. And if you're an atheist, that's probably the best way to go. You're an atheist, you don't believe, and that's fine. And whatever anyone else wants to do, that's fine for them too. If they want to believe, that's fine. But someone else's belief doesn't have to upset you. It's just people are different, people have different beliefs, so on and so forth. And these topics are probably at the early stages of being teased out, not at the late stages. And that's probably one thing to consider as well, whether you're an atheist or a believer. The reality is you may feel that these topics have been done to death. Not at all. That's not true. They're at the early stages of their discussion, not at the late stages, especially when you're talking about atheism and belief, because, of course, you bring in science and psychology in particular, but also history and other observational fact-based science disciplines, if you talk about atheism. But then that may subsume belief and religion as well, because we certainly haven't evolved past religion. Anyway, something to think about. Thanks.